Guys, I'm back with another video for you today, and today I'm doing something a little different, something a little similar to the videos I did on my favorite notes, where I highlighted a favorite note and then I gave you 3 options. But what I'm doing today is highlighting criminally underrated fragrance houses that you all should know about, and I'm going to let you know about each house and also give you 3 different fragrances from each house. So if you want to find out about 12 criminally underrated fragrance houses that you should know about, then please stay tuned. Thanks so much for tuning in. This is Sebastian with Smelling Great Fragrance Reviews. Yes, today I'm talking about some niche houses. I think they're mostly niche. There might be one technicality with one of the houses. I think it's a fairly niche house. I think they have skincare, makeup, and things like that, but they don't really have clothes. Although there is a clothing company with the same name as well. Either way, 12 different houses, 3 different fragrances from each. I'm not ranking this video. I'm just letting you know about each house. Before I get to the fragrances though, if this is your first time tuning into the channel and you still haven't subscribed to the channel, please do subscribe by clicking the subscribe button below and also clicking the bell icon so that you'll be notified for future videos and giveaways. So I've got many fragrances here, 12 brands. I'm going to start off right off the bat. This is going to be a longer than normal video. The first house I'm going to talk to you about is Jeroboam. So this is a sister house to Jeroboam. They launched this house probably somewhere around 2016, 2015, and the fragrances come in very small extrait de parfum 30 ml bottles like this. So they're easy to transport, easy to take on trips, things like that. And you can, you know, enjoy these fragrances on the go. As I said, they're extrait de parfum, meaning higher concentration of perfumes. You don't need to spray a lot, but they are, you know, in 30 mLs, easy to transport, as I said. The first fragrance I'm going to talk to you about is INSULO. INSULO is very vanillic. It's beautiful. It's gorgeous. It's kind of a caramelized, little smoky, kind of a butterscotchy caramel experience with notes of vanilla, jasmine, and musk. This is really, really delicious. Very, very long lasting. I also get something lemony in there as well, which kind of like nicely contrasts with this, you know, kind of mostly syrupy vanilla. Dry, powdery as well, but that contrast of the lemony touch that I get in here is very, very fun against the syrupy sweet vanilla. So INSULO from the House of Jeroboam. Let me know if you know this House of Jeroboam. I know you might know about Jeroboam because I speak about them quite a bit. LIGNO is another fragrance. This is highlighting patchouli, but this is definitely an animalic patchouli, featuring patchouli, ambergris, castoreum, musk, ambroxan, and notes like that. It's very, very long lasting. It is rough, so you've got to be warned about that. If you like an animalic, check it out. Of course, the castoreum stands out. For me, it reminds me of fragrances like Davidoff, Zeno Davidoff, fragrances like Balenciaga Pour Homme, but a more modern take on it, but a little more rougher and animalic as well. So that's LIGNO. Definitely check that out. And another one I'm going to highlight is VESPERO or VESPERO. This one right here is a great fragrance focusing on apples. If you like fruity, crisp, green, crunchy, juicy apples, this is definitely one for you to try. And it features also, in addition to the apples, leather, musk, and it's a beautiful wear. Fruity, a little more fun, but it kind of settles to, you know, like a leather, so it gets darker as you're, you know, wearing it and, you know, enjoying the fragrance and things like that. So 3 different fragrances from this house, totally different. Definitely worth checking out. The fragrances are around 130 for 30 ml, but these are extrait de parfum, as I said, so they are longer lasting fragrances. The next house I'm going to talk to you about is Dear Diary, another sister house, and this time a sister house to Maître Parfumeur at Gantier. So if you like Maître Parfumeur at Gantier fragrances, and they're very much known for the amber, Ambre Pissot, then you definitely need to check out Dear Diary. Dear Diary takes the amber and focuses on amber as a base for all their fragrances, and then adds to it and creates fragrances. First one I'm going to talk to you about is Mediterranean Breeze. The only thing I need to warn you about, the names kind of don't make sense for this house, but the fragrances are great and I love ambers. And this Mediterranean Breeze focuses on amber with patchouli. So if you like patchouli contrasted with kind of like warm, spicy, resinous, balsamic notes of ambery touches, then Mediterranean Breeze should satisfy you. It does have some light floral touches as well. The second one I'm going to talk to you about is Deep Deep in the Baltic. This one is an actual amber, like full-on amber experience. Not a lot of different notes. It's kind of like a ombre perso amber, but it's got loads of labdanum, it's got spices and benzoin. Most likely there's some aromatic touches in here, but it's resinous, it's spicy, it's balsamic, it's a beautiful amber, very, very long lasting. So Deep Deep in the Baltic, another one from Dear Diary. And third and final fragrance I'm going to talk to you about from Dear Diary that you should know about is Two Senses Combined in One. Again, the names are a little confusing to me, but the fragrances are delicious. This one is focusing on amber with sweet honey, vanilla, and also dark chocolate. So if you like a dark chocolatey kind of gourmand take on an amber, this one's definitely one for you to try. So it's honey, dark chocolate, dried fruits, and vanilla for a very, very delicious experience. I do have a review on this particular fragrance. In fact, I have an overview of the whole house on the channel. You can go catch that video on the channel as well. So second house I'm going to talk to you about, as I said today, is Dear Diary. Check them out, especially if you like amber fragrances and or the fragrances of Maître Parfumé et Gantier. The next house I'm going to talk to you about is the house of Ideo Parfumeurs from Beirut, Lebanon, where I'm from. So I wanted to highlight this house as well because this house does produce some great fragrances, with my favorite being Prism Blues, this one right here. So Prism Blues is kind of a patchouli cardamom take on the oud wood style of woody fragrance. So the patchouli is amped up here, cardamom is amped up. You also have oud in here, but the oud is not as amped up as it is in oud wood. So I feel like this particular fragrance, it focuses on the patchouli, but you do have that kind of aromatic spiciness from the cardamom, and of course the ouds come up as well. There's a little bit of an incense smoke running throughout it as well, but a gorgeous fragrance. Really enjoy and love wearing this particular fragrance, Prism Blues from Ideo Parfumeurs. Another fragrance from this house is Space Rhapsody. This one is a powdery experience, very musky and lightly milk, like I'm experiencing milk powder, powdered milk. I don't know if you've ever tried anything like that, but that's kind of the experience I get with this one. And it focuses on mimosa, ambergris, pine, and musk. It's powdery experience, and it's, you know, putting the mimosa flower in center stage. So you've got to love this flower, beautiful kind of baby soft yellow flower that blooms in the springtime. But I think it's a great experience with this one, and they've really captured this beautiful experience with the mimosa flower, making it ultra powdery and musky. So that is Space Rhapsody. And then finally, the third fragrance I'm going to talk to you about is TARBOUCH AFANDI, this one right here. And this one is an animalic fragrance with tobacco and violet leaves. So you've got kind of ozonic touches with kind of animalic stylings with tobacco. So if you like tobacco with kind of like this wet, watery, ozonic quality, and then of course the animalic touches, definitely try TARBOUCH AFANDI from the house of Ideo Parfumeurs. Next up, I'm going to talk to you about a house called Lubin. How many of you know about Lubin? Lubin is a house that was a classic house that's been resurrected many years ago, and they released some great fragrances. One of my all-time favorites from this house is IDOLE. Rum, leather, ebony wood, and saffron. A beautiful boozy, leathery, you know, ambery kind of an experience, of course, with the rum note. Really, really a great scent. Another one that's also very, very unique is KORRIGAN. It's cognac, whiskey, ambrette, leather. A very, very unique experience. It's got like, almost like it's caramel, milk musk kind of together experience. Very caramelized experience. And I think it's the cognac and whiskey combined with the ambrette and then of course the leather, creating this kind of like caramelized milk musk experience. Very, very unique fragrance. I really think that's very unique in the way it's done. And then finally, one of its more recent releases, this is Ava, this one right here. And Ava, even though it's targeted to women, I think this is a great unisex offering that it kind of is like a neroli portofino-esque style of fragrance, and it features notes of neroli, musk, petitgrain. So you've got the greenness from the bitter petitgrain leaves of the orange tree, you've got the neroli, the sweet kind of white flower from the citrus tree, and then of course musk. It's quite musky. Really a great house. I've been to their store in Paris once on a very rainy day, and I had a great time in that area, and definitely one that is, you know, should be hyped. They have some great fragrances that you should definitely know about. The next house I'm going to talk to you about is the house of Heeley. And Heeley is a house or a brand that used to be carried at Barney's. I don't know what's going on. They're not at any stores nearby. I mean, even places like Neiman's or Saks didn't take this brand on, even though they've been at Barney's for the longest time. So it's a little hard to get, but Lucky Scent carries this brand. And of course, I believe their online store ships. But the first one I'm going to talk to you about is Cardinal. It's a great incense, resinous, spicy, with olibanum, black pepper, and myrrh. Smells like church, if you like that kind of a smell. If you like fragrances like Comme des Garçons, Avignon, Casbah, and things like that, definitely one for you to try. It's Heeley's Cardinal. The next one, I speak a lot about this one. It's Oranges and Lemons, Say the Bells of St. Clemens. Very beautiful, very fresh, floral, green, musky citrus fragrance, featuring loads of lemons, neroli, petitgrain. It's musky, it's clean, it's soapy, delicious. That is Oranges and Lemons, Say the Bells of St. Clemens. Finally, the last one I'm going to talk to you about is CHYPRE 21, a very underrated from this brand. It's a CHYPRE, a kind of a modern take on CHYPRE with the oak moss, violet leaves, saffron. It's intense. It's got the, you know, touches of CHYPRE fragrances of classics, and then it's got modern touches as well. So it's a very modern take on a CHYPRE, at least to me it is, and that's CHYPRE 21, the third fragrance from this house I'm going to talk to you about. The next house I'm going to talk to you about is Pierre Guillaume. Luckily, the perfume shop here in San Francisco called ZGO Perfumery carries this brand, and I think this is a criminally underrated brand. I love this house. There's not much hype around this house, but it's got its fans. It's definitely got its fans, and I've been to their store in Paris as well. The first one I'm going to talk to you about is a fragrance I actually bought on a trip to France, in the south of France. And I went in and I discovered this brand, and I explored all the fragrances, ended up with COZE. COZE's got the dark chocolate kind of gourmand touches contrasted with kind of camphoric, bitter green cannabis notes. So it's got cannabis, tobacco, patchouli, and dark chocolate. So great combination, right? Really love this one. It's a dry wear. It's not syrupy, of course. The dark chocolate is kind of like dry and powdery, but you do experience it, and it's definitely a nice combination of notes, you know, patchouli, cannabis, dark chocolate, and of course tobacco. Speaking of tobacco, he's got another tobacco fragrance that came out last year, but more like a musky tobacco, kind of like a fuzzy musk ravageuresque tobacco, and not so gourmandish though. This is Animal Mondain. One of my favorite fragrances of last year. I really love this one. It's got animalic notes, it's got tobacco, hay, and honey. Beautiful fragrance. You know, it reminds me of the original Michael Kors for Men that came out in 2000 or 2001. I still have an original bottle. It does remind me of that, but it is its own thing, but it hints at that. And if you like those kind of fragrances, really this one definitely satisfies, especially now coming in the fall and winter. I think this is going to be perfect. So definitely a great fragrance. And then finally, the third one I'm going to talk to you about is a new one from this house called Morning in TIPASA. Very unique, fresh notes of lemongrass, pine, mint, and honey. Well, I shouldn't say fresh notes, but there are fresh notes in here. It wears fresh, but it's got this interesting kind of astringent, citrusy, herbal, aromatic touch of lemongrass, you know, in contrast with the aromatic, the green touches of the mint. And of course the pine has this kind of woody greenness as well. And then the honey sweetens everything up. Really great wear. I'm going to put this one to test very soon, but I think it's a great release from this house. I still prefer Animal Mondain as a more favorite, but this is definitely solid. So this is Morning in TIPASA from the house of Pierre Guillaume. Let me know if you're a fan of Pierre Guillaume. Put a comment down so I can find out. Next up, I'm going to talk to you about a house called Perris Monte Carlo, another criminally underrated house. You know, the reason I'm putting these as criminally underrated houses. Whenever I do a video or speak about them, not a lot of talk happens. So this is basically on my own, you know, checking my own channel out and realizing that some brands get hype and some don't, and these definitely do not get the hype. But one fragrance from this house that I think is definitely worth mentioning, and I really loved wearing in the hot humid heat. I featured it in a humid fragrances video recently. This is Rose de Taif in X-ray concentration. Amazing, amazing fragrance. If you are a rose lover, you definitely must get your nose on this. There's the X-ray version and there's a regular version, Eau de Parfum version. You can try both, but I'm obsessed with the X-ray because it's long lasting, smells great, and I could, you know, smell myself even after a day of wearing it, and I've got that rose on me, which is fantastic. But it features loads of Taif rose, damask rose, lemons, amber arome, but a beautiful, beautiful, very, very sexy rose fragrance that is highly recommended by me as a favorite, one of my favorite rose fragrances. Another one you should try is Santal du Pacifique. This is a great sandalwood. Beautiful sandalwood. It's the creamy kind rather than the dusty, dry wood chippings kind. So sandalwood, to me, I preferred in this kind of the creamy, kind of cozy qualities, and it's definitely a great sandalwood for you to try. But it features mostly sandalwood and some floral notes. You get light kind of jasmine-y, magnolia kind of touches when you're wearing this particular fragrance, but it's mostly a creamy woody experience. So this is Santal du Pacifique from the house of Perris Monte Carlo. And then, last but not least, Patchouli Nosy Bee. Nosy Bay, I think that's how you say it. Nosy Bay is an island, I believe. So we've got patchouli, cacao, vanilla, labdanum. So it's a great, great patchouli. It's the kind of chocolatey patchouli, and of course they've added cacao in addition to the chocolatiness. But the vanilla, labdanum mixed together with the patchouli creates a kind of a chocolatey touch, and then you add the cacao in there, it gives you a real chocolate experience. Really delicious fragrance. Definitely an underrated house, and this is a house that's actually connected to Hourigan, so they're kind of sister houses, and I believe now they also own Santa Maria Novella, so that's definitely a brand that's very hyped or very popular, the Santa Maria Novella brand. Hourigan is as well, but I think Perris Monte Carlo definitely is underrated. So the next house I'm going to talk to you about is a fragrance house called La Parfumerie Moderne, with some really solid releases, but they're very, very, very underrated, very unhyped, criminally underhyped. This is Queer X. So this is leather, iris, tonka, amber. So it's a very kind of dusty, dry leather experience, lightly animalic. I think the dustiness comes from the iris, but it does sweeten up when you're wearing it. But off the top, it's kind of more dry, a little bit cold, but it warms up with the amber in the base notes and along with the tonka. A great scent from this house. If you don't know it, check it out. The next one I'm going to talk to you about is one that I've reviewed on the channel. This is Anez Fol, a great warm lavender experience. Really beautiful. The lavender in here contrasted with tonka beans and benzoin, and it adds a sweetness to it, a light nuttiness, a little tobacco-ish touches, but lots of lavender, inspired by a hotel in the south of France, I believe. I think that's the story with this house. They're all inspired by hotels, and this is Anez Fol. Last but not least from this house, I'm going to do it gently because these are kind of wobbly bottles. The last one I'm going to talk to you about is Belles Reeves. And Belles Reeves I recently featured in an osmanthus fragrances video. This is a bright iris with the resinous myrrh, kind of sweet, and of course osmanthus featured in here as well. Gives you kind of a apricot-y, lightly leathery tea kind of qualities, but beautiful, beautiful wear. Really do think this one's great. Out of the three, I think I prefer this one because I just loved its brightness and the light fruitiness from the osmanthus. So Belles Reeves, a great scent from the house of La Parfumerie Moderne. Another fragrance house that I think is very criminally underrated, but I think that should change soon now that they're selling at Lucky Scent. I'm talking about the house of Rosendo Mateu, and my first one off from this house is number 5. Really wonderful fragrance. Beautiful, beautiful, very sexy amber, musky as well. It's got notes of musk, amber, vanilla, and spices, but very refined, beautiful, really, really gorgeous wear. I think it's a perfect fragrance for cold days in the fall. You know, also definitely perfect for winter as well. But I feel like this is a great fall fragrance. You know, fall in the air. When you've experienced that, pull this out and wear it. I think it wears beautifully. So number 5, probably the one that most everyone knows about. Number 1 is also great from this house, but focusing on bergamot, tea, and sandalwood. A fresh fragrance, cozy fragrance. I think it's one that you can wear in the summertime. Very liberally, very fresh. And then finally, number 3, this one, which features notes of neroli, iris, and white musk. So it's got this sweet white floral from the citrus tree, contrasted with a powdery iris, and of course this clean musk in it as well. I think this one's definitely one that you can pull off when it's warm outside. Just be advised, it does get powdery from the iris, but a gorgeous wear, I think. So number 3 is the 3rd fragrance from Rosendo Mateu. Definitely check those fragrances out. As I said, they are now selling at Lucky Scent. Hopefully there will be a little more hype around these houses, with this particular house soon, because they are now selling at Lucky Scent. Okay, the next fragrance house I'm going to talk to you about is that kind of technical house. It's a house called Sisley, and they are very popular with skincare and makeup. They have great fragrances. In fact, one I reviewed last summer with the Dahlia, if you haven't caught that, go catch it. It was a Zoom video, is Eau de Campagna. One of their very first fragrances, and it features basil. Tomato leaf is the main note here. It's the star, it's bitter, it's green, with oak moss and lemons. It's fresh. It's kind of a unique take on an Eau de Cologne style fragrance. You know, the Neroli Portofino type fragrances, because it's using other notes, aromatic and green bitter notes. But a great wear, a fresh wear, very green, and I think it's fantastic as an alternative to all the citruses. You got this kind of the bitter tomato leaf. So they do have a few masculine offerings, but today that's the unisex offering that I just shared with you. And the next two are feminine targeted, but if you like the smell, wear it, as I say. Soir d'Orient is a great fragrance featuring a very dark rose with incense, saffron, galbanum, and patchouli. To me, it wears like a CHYPRE fragrance. I smell the style in here, but I think this is more of an amber style. But either way, it's a dark rose experience, lots of patchouli. Of course, saffron adds some leathery touches, the galbanum with the green bitter touches, and then the incense adds light smokiness to it. A great fragrance created by Olivier Pechot. Finally, Isia. If you like your fresh rosy fragrances that are musky and aldehydic, fizzy, definitely try this particular fragrance. I've got the small one, and I really think you can liberally spray this stuff in the warmth of summer, the heat of summer, and wear it. It smells great, and I think the rose just blooms even further with your heat, your body heat, and of course the heat outside. Isia, a great scent. But definitely check them out. They do have great skincare. I think their skincare is great. I don't use a lot of skincare, but I've used some of the trials they give me, and it's always turned out to be great. And again, there's also this clothing house. Also, they don't share the same website. I don't know if they're the same house. Anyway, we'll find out later. But that's definitely a criminally underrated house, especially when it comes to them in the fragrance community. We're going to talk about another house that's fairly new, but this one is the Harmonist. Definitely criminally underrated, and then it's Yin Transformation. So Yin Transformation is the one that I speak a lot about for this house, because I think it's extra long lasting. It's a pure perfume version. The egg concentration is intense. That's why I think it's called Parfum. So it's very heavy. It's long lasting, but the fragrance doesn't wear heavy because it's got this watery note in it. Like you're wearing water, a thick water kind of. White musk, water, orchid, and orris. It's fresh, very refreshing. Lightly floral, very watery and powdery. Beautiful fragrance. If you like your fragrances intense and you only want to wear 1 or 2 sprays for the day, this is the kind of fragrance you would wear. Yin Transformation. Moon Glory, on the other hand, is a sweet floral, honeyed, powdery fragrance. It's this one right here, Moon Glory. And it's very intense once again, and I really like this kind of baby powderish fruitiness with honey and powdery touches. Loads of flowers with this one: jasmine, ylang ylang, lychee fruit and honey. So definitely a solid release. Once again, very, very intense. And then finally, Guiding Water, another fruity fragrance to wear in the summertime. It's got ozonic and crisp qualities, like crisp cucumbers in here, but they don't mention cucumbers. I'm picking up cucumbery touches. But you know what? I also pick up the cucumbery touches in watermelon when you're smelling the skin, because this features watermelon, lotus, lily, ozonic notes. A great freshie. If you like watermelon crispness, check this one out. It is a Guiding Water from the Harmonist. And the last but not least fragrance house I'm going to talk to you about is another fairly new house, similar to Rosendo Mateu, although I think this house is a little newer, but they are now being sold at Lucky Scent as well. And again, they're criminally underrated. The house of Atelier Materi. And the first fragrance I'm going to talk to you about is Bois d'Ambrette, it used to be known as Peau d'Ambrette. My favorite from this house. I love its musky sexiness with its light fruitiness and light powdery touches. Features sandalwood, angelica, musk, and of course the star note ambrette. Very, very sexy fragrance. I love wearing that one. The next one, Cacao Porcelana, and this one is a cacao chocolate fragrance, and it's rum and tonka beans with cacao. You do get the chocolatey touches. It's a little powdery, light booziness runs through it as well, but a delicious concoction, Cacao Porcelana from the house of Atelier Materi. And then finally, their latest release, it's called Narcisse Taiji. This one right here, a great unique smell focusing on narcisse flower, which is, I think, maybe becoming a little trendy lately. I'm seeing it pop up in fragrances. Narcissus, musk, patchouli, pear, and hay. Beautiful, musky, lightly fruity, and of course floral. A bit leathery in there as well, and lightly animalic. But a beautiful, beautiful wearing experience. This is Narcisse Taiji. That's the last fragrance in the last house. That's Atelier Materi. Again, as I said, that house is criminally underrated, although they're fairly new, and they are now being sold at Lucky Scent. You can go check them out as well. I don't know of the rest of the brands. I don't think they're all selling at Lucky Scent. Of course not. They don't. I'm just highlighting the 12 different brands that I think are criminally underrated. Some do sell there, some don't. Some you'll have to go direct to their websites to buy. But they're criminally underrated. Hopefully you guys will check these out and discover some of these fragrances that are totally underrated and not hyped. And then, buy samples or test them out to see how good they are. Either way, guys, thanks so much for tuning in today to watch this video. If you have any questions or comments, please list below. Please like this video. Please share it. Follow me on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. And I'll be back with more videos very soon. Have a good one. Goodbye.